So I hope you have got a flavor of how to handle numerically the Dirichlet problem based on the Laplace equation. I now want to address a little bit more complexity into that approximation. So let me write down the stencil for you again. So this is the Dirichlet problem for the Laplace equation. And we found out this is u I plus 1 j plus u I j plus 1 plus u I j plus 1 u I minus 1 j plus u I j minus 1 minus 4 u I j, this is 0. And the grid is something like this. So this is Ij, this is I plus 1j, this is I minus 1j, this is I j minus 1 and I j plus 1. Okay. Now please notice that when I write down this equation and I have a large number of grid points, then in each equation I am going to have unknowns which are the neighbors, these 4 neighbors. Okay. So when I write down so many equations, then each equation has a number of unknowns, essentially 5 of them. But then as I go to the left or to the right or up and down, their location actually changes. So this becomes a fairly complicated equation system. It's sparse in the sense that if I write down the equation at this point, then there are only 4 or 5 unknown values in the left hand side and the other entries are 0. So it's a sparse matrix, not a full matrix. Now what is well known is that typically these equations are a little bit easier to solve, okay, if I have a tridiagonal system. So tridiagonal matrix equations can be solved efficiently. So those of you who are not familiar with what is a tridiagonal system, so suppose I have this matrix A, this is my vector x and this is my vector b. If I have entries only along the diagonal and all others are 0, that's of course a diagonal matrix. If I have a system where I have the diagonal is non-zero and one entry above the diagonal and exactly one entry below the diagonal, they are non-zero, but all others are 0, then this is a tridiagonal system. I can also talk about a pentadiagonal, wherein in addition to these 3, I could have 1 each on the upper and the lower triangle which are non-zero. So that would become pentadiagonal. So tridiagonal matrices are easy to solve, and what some people have figured out is that you can actually use the tridiagonal system by making some approximations to solve this equation fairly efficiently. And I wanted to describe that innovation to you, okay, and we will be using that later in the course. So I want to describe to you the ADI method. So the ADI method is the alternating direction implicit method. and we are going to use an iterative approach. So here is what we are going to do. As I showed you in the example earlier for the 4 by 4 equations, we had this Ax equal to b, so you would get a matrix with 4 unknowns. X would have dimension of 4, and then one can use a solver to get the solution. Now suppose I have a million equations, okay, and it is not possible for me to solve this system directly. Can I come up with an innovative approach to solve this iteratively but in a more easy manner? And that is what the ADI method allows us to do. So it is a very smart approach. Essentially what it does is it realizes that if I can freeze the values in the column, then these 3 values in a row, they can form a tridiagonal system. On the other hand, if I look at the values only along a column and freeze the values along the row, then these 3 values in a column, they can form a tridiagonal system. So this method is very innovative. It essentially iterates by freezing alternately rows and columns, and let me show you how it does that. So this was developed by Peaceman and Rashford. So the purpose of my showing you this method is not so much about the details, but about the innovation that one can use in these systems. So suppose u, I, j, m are known, and u, I, j, m plus 1 are to be found. So I am going to use m as the iteration counter. Okay. So m is the iteration counter. So we start with some guess values, and we are on iteration number m, and at that level we know everything about the solution, and we just want to improve upon the solution, and the improved solution is m plus 1. Okay. So we are going to, let me call this as A. So A is approximated as so in the first iteration I am going to do the following: u I minus 1 j at iteration m plus 1 minus 4 u I j at m plus 1 plus u I plus 1 j at m plus 1. So I will assume that these are unknowns. Okay. So out of these 5 values, the I plus 1 and the I minus 1 and of course the I j, they will be assumed to be unknowns. So basically in this row, and I will assume that these are frozen, and I will use them from the m iteration level. So therefore I will transfer I j plus 1, essentially this value, and the j minus 1 values as the known values to the right hand side. So these I am going to simply write as minus u I j minus 1 at the level m minus u I j plus 1 at the level m, and therefore I would get a tridiagonal system, and this is fairly easy to solve. Of course, in the real matrix, all these were supposed to be at the same level, and therefore they should have been solved together. So in that sense it is an approximation. So this I call B, and then in the next iteration when I go to level C, which is at m plus 2, then I alternate. Now I am going to say that my columns are to be iterated, but the row values are frozen. So, let me write that down for you. So, I am going to now say ui j minus 1 are at m plus 2 minus 4 uij, these are at m plus 2, and likewise here I write ui j plus 1, these are at level m plus 2, and now the row values are frozen. So, these become minus ui minus 1 j at m plus 1. So, I am at the iteration level m plus 2, which means m plus 1 is the earlier iteration, and similarly ui plus 1 j at m plus 1. Okay. Again I have a tridiagonal system, okay. And then I repeat this. So, I keep alternating between rows and columns, and hopefully I would converge to the correct solution. So, the idea is that we iterate till we converge. Now, the question is, what does convergence mean here? Okay. Of course, we are going to look at it in a little bit more detail later on, but I just want to give you a very average idea about this. So, the hope is that as we keep iterating, we are going to get closer to the solution. How do we monitor that? So, there are two things we can look at. So, one is u I j value. If I look at m and u I j at m plus 1, how different are they? So, the hope is that as I keep iterating, I would eventually get to the exact solution in the sense of exact solution of Ax equal to b, and therefore, my solution would stop changing. Okay, but still that is not enough. I should really look at Ax minus b. Okay. So, if I look at this as the error, so this is the equation I was trying to solve. This is a stencil for the Laplace equation. This should be 0. So, when I substitute finally, so here x is same as u. So, if I substitute for u, and I should get a close to a 0 here. So, these are the two conditions. So, this is based on the residual, and this is actually based on the increment, and we are going to talk more about this later on. Can we improve the convergence? Okay. So, how to improve / accelerate the convergence? Again, somebody has come up with enormous innovation, and I just wanted to show you that. So, let me look at these equations b and c and propose something. So, rewrite b and c. So, let me do the following: ui plus 1 ui minus 1 j at m plus 1. Now, there was a coefficient 4 here, and instead what I will do is I will write this as 2 plus p, and I will give a number for p a little later. So, this times uij m plus 1 plus ui plus 1 j at m plus 1. This is minus ui j minus 1 m minus, or rather plus 2 minus p uij at m minus ui j plus 1 at m. So, notice what we have done. This value here, which was supposed to have a coefficient of 4, we have tweaked this a little bit and replaced that with 2 plus p, and the remaining part of it we have taken it as a value which is known from the previous iteration. And now we can see if this makes a difference. So, we can experiment with the value of p. Likewise, for the other iteration which is u I j minus 1 m plus 2, again I have this so this is from the equation C which has been modified, and this now becomes minus u I minus 1 j at m plus 1 plus 2 minus p u I j at m plus 1 minus a u I plus 1 j at m plus 1. So, all I have done is just modified equations C and D and replace these values 4 with 2 plus p and taken the difference on the right hand side. So, some people have experimented that can values of p lead to different values of p lead to a difference in the convergence rate, and it turns out the following. So, p equal to 2 gives us back the original method. But if I want optimal convergence, then I can use the value of p to be 2 times sine pi by k, where k is the maximum of number of rows or columns. And of course, p can vary from one step to the other. Okay. So, it turns out if I use a value of p which actually depends on the number of equations that I have, or the number of rows and columns that I have in the grid, essentially the range of I and j, then it is possible for me to get faster convergence using the ADI method. And of course, nobody stops me from varying p from one step to the other. That is what I have written here. So, I hope you have got a flavor of how these methods work for these simple differential equations, and we will discuss some more aspects of approximation in the next session. Thank you very much.